Saint Dympna was an Irish princess born to pagan King Damon and his Catholic wife during the early 7th century. The young girl was raised as a Catholic by her mother and after expressing her desire to become a child of God, was secretly baptized. Soon after, in Dympna's early teenage years, her mother passed away. Wrought with grief, King Damon sent messengers throughout nearby lands in search of a young noblewoman willing to marry him. His expectation from the young woman who he would marry was that she would bear a striking resemblance to that of his newly deceased queen. The messengers could find no woman that was suitable for the king's desire, and so advisors suggested that King Damon take the hand of his own young daughter to wed, as she looked almost the same as her mother had in life. Having taken a vow of virginity and faced with the threatening and inappropriate desires of her father, Dympna fled Ireland with her priest and fellow Catholic, Garibernus, as well as the court jester and the jester's wife. After leaving Ireland, the jester and his wife left Dympna and Garibernus to continue on their journey to escape King Damon. The two traveled to and took refuge in a town called Giel in Belgium. Through their foreign currency, Dympna and Garibernus were able to be tracked by the king's spies that Dympna's father had sent out to locate his daughter and future bride. When they were located, King Damon and a group of soldiers traveled to Giel in order to confront the young princess and her priest. The king's soldiers questioned the townspeople about the whereabouts of the young girl and her companion, thereby learning the location of the small cottage where Dympna and Garibernus had set up residence. Upon their discovery, Garibernus was almost immediately killed by the soldiers because of the king's claim that he had warped the mind of his daughter and stolen what was rightfully his. King Damon then proceeded to try to convince Dympna to come home with him by promising her wealth, power, and luxury. Staying true to the vow of virginity that she had taken, Dympna refused to return to Ireland as her father's wife. Upon hearing this, King Damon unsheathed his sword and beheaded his own daughter. Dympna was only 15 years old at the time of her death. Saint Dympna lived her life as a servant to the church through her extreme generosity and kindness to the sick. While in Giel, Dympna used the money that she had taken with her to found a small hospital to care for those who were both physically and mentally ill. The compassion that she showed to those in need made stories of her kindness legendary throughout many neighboring countries. Her concern for the poor, the suffering, and those afflicted with mental illnesses was a rare and beautiful thing to behold in a time when those people were treated very poorly. Dympna took on the challenge of serving Christ through caring for those who were looked down upon in society. It was not only St. Dympna's acts of service to the church while alive that made her a remarkable servant. It was also the miracles that she is credited to have brought about after her death. Stories have been told about mentally unstable individuals visiting or spending the night near the body of Saint Dympna, only to later become miraculously healed from their afflictions. For these reasons, the town of Giel steadily grew to become a very popular location for those seeking a cure for their state of mind. Many revolutionary hospitals hundreds of years later for those with mental illnesses or neurological disorders sprung up in honor of St. Dympna's care for troubled and suffering individuals. These hospitals were revolutionary because of the way that they cared for the patients admitted there, versus how other hospitals for the mentally unstable cared for their charges. At the time when these hospitals began to make a large appearance in the care of the needy, most individuals were being subjected to appalling and ineffective torture routines to try to fix what was wrong with them. These would be routines such as electrocution therapy, lobotomy, and deprogramming. The hospitals in Giel fed and clothed patients, and often allowed them to take jobs in the town, such as working in a farmer's fields. A semblance of normal life and care was what was given to patients, not a locked room where they would be tortured and chained. Because of her history and because of the miracles of healing that occurred surrounding the site of her burial, Dympna became known as the patron saint for those with mental illnesses such as depression or anxiety, those with neurological disorders such as epilepsy, those in times of emotional distress and turmoil, victims of incest, runaways, families, neurologists, and psychologists. Her feast day is the 15th of May. The story of St. Dympna inspires me to approach life with an open and unclouded mind. Her willingness to reach out to others who were born in a less fortunate situation shows the great love that she had for people. I wish to acquire the ability to be able to care for people as much and as deeply as she did. The great respect that her kindness gained her is remarkable. It is surprising how much her existence, story, and care could change the lives of so many. Perhaps it is not what you did during life that is the most important, but how your life after death has inspired others to do something more. I know that the story of St. Dympna has inspired me to better myself, and I hope that I can try to model the genuine care and concern that she had for others.